Peace. What's going on? What's going on, family? Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Jihad Live Experience. I am your host, Jihad Messiah Youssef. Excuse me. This is the place where the problem solvers become the teacher. I'm bringing back sexy to the everyday hardworking man and woman who impact your life and within close proximity, bringing value back to people of color. We also want to push to rise above this madness called black culture and become the most constructive, the most positive people that we can be. In spite of tonight's show could be quite controversial to a lot of people. A lot of people have always questioned what my true belief was. A lot of people have always been curious about what exactly I do believe in, what I don't believe in. And I'll give you a quick history. I grew up in the church. And if I had it to do all over again, I would want to grow up in the church all over again. But as I got older, I began to understand some things that just didn't add up to me. And I say this all the time. What really got me on my journey to really understand who is God, what is God, why is God, the concept of God, why a belief was even needed. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Why a belief was even needed in the first place was because growing up, me and my siblings, we went to private Christian school. And this was a Christian school, and we went here for the purpose of higher learning. Now, Monday through Friday, I quickly identified that white people didn't really care for kids of color. We were mistreated. We were targeted. I was always in detention. Anytime I was in class, I would say something I thought was elegant and intelligent. I was always shot down. I got my mouth washed out with soap one time for, using a profane word that a kid had just said in front of me. And this had went on for like maybe 7 or 8 years. But come Sunday morning, I always found myself in houses of worship with nothing but black people who were emotional, caught up in the spirit, high praise, but all the images around the church of Jesus, the disciples, God, they were all white. So something didn't add up to me. So as I began to grow older, I started my journey to understand this thing called God, the being called God, the purpose of God. I clearly didn't understand it. But as growing up in the family that I did take on the belief. I did take on the practice. I prayed. I tried to do things as possible. Everything is possible if I could to the word. Try to be obedient the best that I could. Obviously, I didn't always live up to it. We all backslide, sin, whatever you want to call it. But then I began to notice that when I observe black people and those who say they believe in God, I used to see the worst culture, the worst treatment. There were no triggers of logic. There was no triggers of reason. There was no culture. So much self-hate, so much sickness, so much obesity, so much poverty. And we understand poverty is controlled by a system, by people who print the money. I didn't see problem solving. You understand what I'm saying? Now, I would not say or make a sweeping indictment on everybody who is a believer, everybody who is a Christian. I can't make that sweeping indictment because growing up, I saw strong men. I saw strong women, and they were problem solvers. They were loving in the community. My own grandfather, Reverend C.A. Stames, the legendary C.A. Stames, my Uncle Doc, and even my Uncle Abe. These were ministers in the community that were real. The people could touch them. The people could feel them. And I'm not necessarily talking physically. I'm talking mentally. I'm talking spiritually. My grandfather would open up gyms in the summertime for kids to go to. They would have a morning snack for breakfast. They would have a lunch and an evening snack in the evening. While at the same time, while we did perform and have correctional activities, we also began to learn, things as far as educational purposes. And the community was just the way that it was supposed to be. But we understand things do change in time. And so the shift began to take place. And when I saw the shift begin to take place in the houses of faith, I'm like, okay, this thing called God is really confusing to me. So over time, it became fuzzy. Now, people like my father, my aunt, Doris, my uncle Ed, who's made his transition, my cousin TT, Daisy, people like this of that nature. I would observe these people, my cousin William Francis. These people were real to me. I seen these people love people. I see these people do work. I see these people come around family, and they're always loving and kind. So with my own personal decisions, I began to lean towards the conscious community, got involved in the Black Power movement, and eventually found myself in the 5% Nation because I had always been drawn to the 5%ers, even since back in college. They were just different. See, one thing that I knew that a person could be in church their whole life and not know the Bible, but you couldn't be a part of the 5% nation and not know your lesson. So I was really drawn to that. I saw very strong individuals, very strong minds and characters in this nation. Um, so tonight's guest is Brother T Challa. Now, let me tell you about this brother before I bring him on. I've been following this brother for maybe about, I would say about at least good 3 or 4 years, maybe longer. I see so many people post scriptures. I see so many people talk about God, and I see so many people who are spiritually based in a movement. But I don't see too many people that can break down the Bible like this brother has. I don't see too many people who shows kindness and compassion, even when people come from him, even when people will come for him being with a woman who is not black. You know, understand what I'm saying? His just compassion and his love. And I made that point to say that this brother helped me to understand things on a massive level. Now, I also have a show coming about that as well. So I'm going to need y'all to stay tuned because that's going to be a great show as well. But I just seen that this brother was true and passionate about what he does. He's a sneakerhead. He's a gunman, but the most importantly, he's a problem solver. He's a master chef of 20 years. He's a married man, a great father. He is a very constructive, productive brother. And I'm finna get ready to bring that brother on. But first of all, let me give a shout out to the sponsors. You know what I'm saying? This is to meet your match. My good brother, my good sister Kathy Cookie Williams is putting this on tomorrow. And if you just so happen to be out in the Douglasville area, I believe it's on Veterans Memorial at the Bistro. You see the flyer right there. Let me take that down so everybody can see it clearly. Yeah, it's out there on Veterans Memorial. It's at the Venue Blue Rose Art and Bistro Cafe. Now listen, man. Hey, my sister, she wants to see people come back loving one another again. She wants to see people, black men and women, being in healthy relationships again. So she put it upon herself, and it was on her heart to start this. Now, somebody threatened me, talking about if I showed up, it's going to be problems. So, my response to that is, I ain't no rings on this thing around here. No, I'm just joking. But listen, man, brothers, man, register. Go online and register. This is where you can go. Meet my match. VIP@gmail.com. Go on there and register. It's some sisters, man, ready to come out these streets. It's some sisters ready to be wives, ready to be mothers. They ready to make a home. They ready to enjoy the family life, man. So, brothers, y'all pull up tomorrow. Sisters, y'all come on out because a lot of y'all talking about there ain't no good men. There's plenty of good men out here. It's just the place that you going. You can't really expect to find a good man. And I tell some of y'all sisters, sometimes you got to take off that nigga suit. All that extra cosmetic and stuff y'all be putting on y'all body. What you think you're going to draw? You're going to draw the very nigga that you hate and don't want. Come natural. Come be yourself. But more than anything, let your intelligence be the most sexy thing about you. Now, if you also want to make contact with my good sister, Cookie Williams, man, here's her number. You can call that number right there. You can get more information. Hey, look, tomorrow I'm going to pull up. I'm going to enjoy myself. Many people think I'm going to meet somebody. Actually, I'm just going to help out and assist. I was asked by my good friend. I respect what she's doing. And so I'm going to be in the building tomorrow, regardless of what anybody says. All right. So let me take this down. Last time I had this on the show, man, everybody was like, we can't see you. And I didn't even know what they was talking about. So, man, tonight we finna get into it. And I'm gonna be hitting this brother with some questions. So let's get ready for the ride. And I need everybody, if you have questions, comment in the comment section because I'm going there tonight. I want to thank everybody that's checking in tonight. And I'm sure to please you that tonight you should get something out of this show. All right. So without further ado, man, let me go ahead and bring my brother in. And I really got to stop saying further ado. Y'all tell me something else to say. Let me bring my brother on in the house, man. Brother T Challa, what's going on with your brother?
What's going on with your brother? All praises to the Most High, man.
Indeed, man. I am so honored to have you on my show. I'm honored to have you grace this platform. I have high respect for you. You're a gun man. Your sneaker game is tough, yo. I can't keep up with you. You know what I'm saying? I ain't even gonna go with my closet because I don't need you to go to your garage and pull out all them sneakers that you got, man.
No, I actually got some stuff lined up here just to kind of like present you and the crowd with. So, however you want to set things off, we can get into the fun stuff first, and then dive into the serious stuff in a minute. Get all
Okay.
the way. It's all up to you, brother. But I'm ready for whatever. No holds barred. So let's go.
No doubt, man. So, I always thought you was in Georgia. So you're actually in Columbia, Missouri. I mean, Columbus, Georgia.
I'm in Columbus, Georgia. I'm about an hour and a half away from Atlanta. I've been to Atlanta a few times since I've been here, and honestly I do not like it. I don't like how y'all drive.
Man, what's your root of civilization, man? Where were you born and raised?
It's just a brief background. I'm from technically I'm from Middletown, Connecticut.
Okay.
We right in between. It's surprising how many people don't actually. Since I've been down here, they don't know where Connecticut is from. Like Connecticut is one of the first original colonies in
Hmm.
States. You know, before the Declaration of Independence and all that stuff was ever
Okay.
and all that. But I'm right there, Connecticut. We about this big, and we right in between Massachusetts and New York. So we get the best of both worlds on a bad day.
No doubt.
So
Go Huskies.
here, you, hey, Killer Kemba, Cardiac Kemba. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, Rip Hamilton too, right? He was a Husky too, wasn't he?
Yeah, and we also and crazy thing is too is that even at the local barbershop, I don't have to go there no more. But back in the day,
Mm.
whatchamacallit, even oh my goodness, what's his name? Fred Ham,
The gospel singer.
not Fred Ham, not the gospel singer. What's his name? The basketball player, Fred Ham. I forgot what his name is. Oh my goodness, I'm about to get my
Who did he play for?
Detroit. He played for Detroit.
Fred.
Fred Ham.
Fred. I
I
thought it was. I know Rip Hamilton played for Detroit.
not Rip Hamilton. It's not Rip. Rip was a little bit light, a little bit. He was skinny.
Fred. I can't think of it. Man,
Man,
if anybody watching, know, man, drop that name, man.
it's somebody. Oh my goodness. But whatever. But besides that, like man, I used to go to like the bank and like coming from work. I used to see whatchamacallit, Mike Bivens. Uh,
Okay.
call it like at the YMCA. They be shooting hoops and all that stuff.
All
Like
right.
yeah, we get a little bit. We get a little. Ray Allen, matter of fact, he owns a restaurant on the main street where my hometown is at. So you see people once in a while around where I'm from, man. So it's different. It's
No
different.
doubt, no doubt. So, man, let's get into it, man. Let's get it cracking, because at the end, towards we got to get to the meat and the bones. But let's get some preliminary things out the way first. So, you've been a chef, professional chef of 20 years. What got you into wanting to be a chef, bro?
To be quite honest with you, and I use that term chef lightly because as a man in the truth and just and growing in general, you never fully reach your full destination, especially in the culinary world. And I've been cooking since I was in the single digits, man. Like since I was like about 9, 10 years old, my mother and my father, like I don't know what it was, but I can't even pinpoint the day that I actually can say I started cooking. But
Mm,
I realized when I needed to start taking it seriously. When my mother and my father at my young age were requesting meals from me, and I'm like, okay, so let me
okay.
they weren't afraid to allow me to like delve into what they saw in me. They just kind of nurtured that, and I've been flourishing ever since. Like that's just what I do. I have ideas in my head. The process of when you can see food transform from one medium to another, to me
Mm,
is relaxing and it's calming. Some people
wow.
raw, some people like to change oil. I like to cook food.
Yeah, man. I struggle making a pack of ramen noodles, man. God dang. Man, that's what's up, man. So what's like your best dish that you just lay out that people just love? What's the one thing that you could just knock out?
steak, steak, any good cook, any good chef, any person who wants to consider themselves, if you don't got the basic steak, asparagus, and hollandaise sauce or holly, whatever you call it, want to call it, wherever you're from, if you don't have that down, then you can't talk to me. You have
So,
that steak, asparagus, and hollandaise sauce, quintessential staple to have in your repertoire for being a chef. You gotta have that.
all right. So, do you have a catering business?
I do not. I actually, it's funny. Before the whole COVID situation hit, I was planning on doing some kind of like DoorDash kind of uh,
Okay,
service, and then a whole bunch of red tape happened, and then here I am now. I'm down here with you guys. So
I got you. But you do have a business of kid clothing, kids custom. Speak on that real quickly.
yeah, it's called Kid Customs, KidCustomz, Kid Customs. I'm just starting to revamp the whole brand because I've been sewing, like along with my cooking, I've been sewing, and I could actually make garments from scratch. My mother and my father, they had their own custom clothing business growing up, so I learned how to sew at an early age. I mean, it was we had
Hmm.
anything from garments to hats to customizing sneakers. Like I mean, this right here. Matter of fact, this is a custom shoe that I did just because I was bored. Right here.
Wow, yo, that is dope. That is fire, yo.
You understand? Like I this
Yo,
it got the mint green, the mint green with I call it the double chocolate fudge. I
yo,
made
that's a nice colorway, yo.
you know what I mean? Like I just I do whatever comes to mind. And as a youngster, like I was actually commissioned at a young age to do a couple prototypes for like a couple reputable companies that people actually still buy shoes from to this day. But people don't know about that though.
Let's get into it, man. I know you got your kick game is tough, man. What you got for us tonight, man? Let's see it now.
I
So
mean,
show some love.
I just showed these, but you know what I'm saying? Let's see what we got here. I know I'm being long winded, so my bad, but I
No,
got
no, no, no.
you can
Tonight's your night.
you can't be from CT or up north without having you gotta have some staple, some Air Force Ones. But these joints right here, I wore these one time. A lot of the shoes that I'm about to show y'all, I haven't even like worn yet at all. But
Wow.
uh my wife hates me for it, trust me, yo. But these is just some suede tan. I had to have them because they had the gum bottom on them. Then you got these. I just wore these two finally. Again, it looks crazy buying more of the same shoe but in different colors. But
I do the same thing when it comes to hoop shoes.
you have to understand, you know. And then you can't go wrong with all red something. You
Don't
know,
go to Long Beach with them.
I already know. I California, but I never went to Long Beach. I used to live in Coachella, which a lot of people don't understand. Coachella, they think of the party atmosphere. Coachella
Mhm.
City is actually it's an actual town, and
Oh, really?
I could actually walk outside of my backyard and see the stage where the performers are actually performing at. They drew so much electricity to make that event that it shut down and made the whole strip mall crash. The whole
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a big thing, but it's actually a city. But yeah, long story short, I have never been to Long Beach with these and don't plan on doing it. And I see the LA dot, that's the LA joint you got on too.
No,
So
I ain't no crip.
I know,
I ain't no crip. And that neighborhood I'm from in St. Louis is actually red. Don't tell nobody.
we got these joints. Like I said, I have a thing for gum bottom.
Dang. Man, that them joints right there is nice, yo. That oh my god, boy, you playing, man. You playing game, boy.
Yeah, the yellows really sets it off. Um, Now here's the pair I'm about to show y'all that a lot of people don't really like. They're not familiar with this brand. It's the brand's called Carhu.
Woo! I like them.
Yeah, these are great everyday running dad shoes if you want to call them. But these are Carhu. This is what Kanye was wearing a lot of the time. People didn't know what he was wearing. They thought he was wearing Bathe and Ape, and they thought he was wearing some other brand. He was wearing Carhu. This is
Okay.
right here, Karhu. These are the Fusion 2.0s. I promise you, some of the most lightest, most comfortable shoes that you will ever wear. I put these on my jogging pants, and it's a wrap. Like you don't need nothing else on besides these right here, these Carhus right here, brother.
Man, that's dope. That's what's up, man. That's
Yeah,
definitely what's up.
yeah. Where you want me to go? I got a few more I can show you. Where you want me to go? You want me to keep on going?
You can show us a few more, man. I'm glad I ain't go down with this because you would have beat me. I ain't got no shoes like that, man. Everything I got right out of Stonecrest Mall.
These the Moabs right here. You gotta have a pair of
Oh,
ACG.
I had a pair of those back in the day in high school, and I
See?
got talked about. They was like, "Yo, those are ugly." I was way above my time, bro. Way ahead of my time.
You was way ahead of your time, brother. You gotta have your ACGs. These right here, I throw on with maybe like some tan like khakis or something like that, and just keep it moving.
Yeah,
Ugly outside. I promise you, you cannot go wrong with these right
them
here.
look like some you wear to the gun range.
I got something I wear at the gun range now. I'm
Uh
gonna
oh.
show you that too.
Uh
Um, I mean, I'm not a big Jays fan, but I got these just because, like, I didn't want to get any of the taxis. The taxis they have the red writing on the back, and they don't have
Right.
accents on it or whatever. But I got these once in a while just to say I'm doing something. But I don't really wear these too much. I wore these probably about 5 times. I don't even know what they just in the closet. But here
Right.
Here is some of the bread and butter. Let's get to the good stuff now.
Yo, I got those.
Let's get to the good
I
stuff.
got those. I got the peanut butters, yo. I'm wearing them to the event tomorrow. Hell yeah.
Oh yeah, see,
Yes, sir.
I was trying to send this colorway. They don't have up north where I'm from. These are the Auburn colorway. They don't have these up north. And I tried to get these from my cousin, and they sold out immediately.
As
Luckily,
in Auburn, like the college.
yeah, they say it's Auburn, but yeah, it's a
Yeah, I
little
had to let my boy Marco Killingsworth know about that one.
yeah. But these are we call these the Bo Jacksons. The old heads, we call these the Bo Jacksons. They call them the trainers in the store, but we call these the Bo Jacksons. But these
Yeah.
here are a little different. They got the gums, they got the clear
Yes.
on them, and
You gotta wash them the minute you wear them. That gum pick up everything, yo.
I know I haven't worn these yet either. So
Man, that is dope, boy. We got something in common. Great minds think alike.
what are these?
Shacks, pump it or dump it.
I had to go with the green because I'm from up north. I need me a Celtics fitted.
Hell yeah, I used to like them thing, man. To a buddy of mine was hooping in them, still rolled his damn ankle with everything pumped up.
I got banned from school for having these
Why?
because they said that this could be used as a weapon. I got banned from school for these, and then I didn't wear these, and then you remember the Shacks, the Insta pumps that had the yellow, the CO2 cartridge.
Yeah, on the side. Mm-hmm.
They suspended me for having those too, brother.
Damn, they put kids out of school for dreads, having locks and tennis shoes. Ain't
Yeah,
that crazy, man?
yeah.
Let's get into the gun thing. Let's get into the gun thing. The state of black gun ownership, man. Why don't our people believe in being armed in the proper manner?
I believe that's a good question. I believe they don't understand how many rights they actually have, and the majority of our people haven't been outside of the four walls that they're in. The majority of our people don't have passports. The majority of our people don't even have IDs or a driver's license that's not suspended or something like that. So I just think that it comes down to our people not being aware of what their actual rights are and how to exercise them and how to go about doing it. And
Yeah,
that's why I'm so pro 2A, and I tap into people like Coleon Noir. I don't know if you
I follow Coleon Noir.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that brother, he's one of the people that I actually like love tapping in because
Yeah,
you see what he does, man. Like
and he's a lawyer. People don't even know that.
I didn't know that.
He's a lawyer, Northern, and the brother, because he caught a lot of flack from our community because he was at one point the face of the NRA.
I did not.
Yes, yes, he was, and he was doing advertisements and commercials. But I like the brother. See, the thing about it is, again, getting over this thing called color. He presents some great information. Better, more than likely, most of the time, most white people that present the same information, like he's killing them.
Exactly.
So I do follow him. I do watch his gun reviews. How long have you been in the guns, man?
I would say since again like a child, but when I started taking things seriously, the past 4 years, I started exercising my rights, started figuring out exactly okay what gun laws apply where. A lot of people don't understand that there's a lot that goes along with it, and it's like it's a culture. You
Yes.
but it's a heavy responsibility too, and people think that oh okay like you can just we buy guns and this and that, but it's a whole different mind state because there's certain understanding you have to have and being responsible with tools that you use too, because it's not just about just throwing bullets down a range somewhere. You actually have to like understand and be aware of your surroundings, be aware of transitional spaces. You have to be aware. It makes you aware on a whole different level in a perspective that you didn't have for you, for your family's safe. And I'm a firm believer that you are responsible for your own personal safety
Exactly.
before a police officer is, before the medic, the meds are. You need a trauma kit on you, or before anybody. No one's coming to help you.
Mm-hmm.
To you as a man, and even as a black man, as a man, a person in general, as a man, as a protector, as a father, things. It's my responsibility to make sure I'm tooled up as best as I can to support my family, whether it be financially, physically, if I got to beat somebody up, or if we got to do something, whatever we got to do. I'm supposed
Yeah.
to be aware of what my surroundings are all the time, so they don't have to worry about that. That's my responsibility.
Exactly. And it's funny you say that because, man, I tell my dad all the time, it absolutely drives me crazy. My dad's got a few pieces, but he don't carry them. And I'll be like, Dad, will you please carry a gun? My daddy from the old school, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what it is about them old jokers. Like, man, I'm good. I got it. Man, you ain't, man. These youngsters, man, like bulls. What you got? You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, this ain't the 70s, Jack. Ain't no gangs out here with knives no more, bro. Like,
Yeah,
carry your gun, but my
yeah.
dad be like, I got God. I'm like, yeah, you need to have that gun too.
The most high. Christ said, "Sell your cloak and get a sword."
Hmm.
You understand?
There you go. We finna get into it, man. So
Yeah.
what's your weapon of choice?
Well, I can show you a couple right now. This right here is and mind you, all firearms are unloaded. All right,
Canic.
fresh check forever. Not the can. I actually sold my Canic. This is a Stoker Str9c.
Okay.
There's not a big aftermarket base for this gun, which is annoying because it feels great.
Hmm.
It's compact. It comes with metal mags, which
Okay.
I love. 13 rounds. Um, and it's got a lot of weight to it. There's not really a lot of muzzle flip. I keep this in the safe and just keep it around, just for like home self defense.
Okay.
9 millimeter chamber. My personal everyday carry that I just got. I'm gonna show you the one that I used to, but right here, this is my new purchase. This is a Glock 19X right here. It took forever for me to get this colorway because once this color hits the shelf, the
Yes.
flat dark earth, it just flies off the shelf
It
and it.
does. Army Green Glock 26 does too, but the Glock 26 is a bulldog.
Yeah, it is. It is. But this one right here, I actually it came with a lanyard. I actually took the lanyard. I put a
Okay.
Allen grips on it. This was heavily looked into for military purposes because it has a Glock 19 slide, but it
Hmm.
has the length of a Glock 17, which is a little bit bigger. I'm gonna show you actually. This is the Glock 19 right here. This is a carry that I have right here. This is the
What
same
gen? Is that a Gen 5?
the Gen 5 right here. This is the Gen 5 Glock 19 right here.
I'm right there with you, brother.
Nice.
Gen 5.
There you go. This is the Glock 19 Gen 5 right here. And everything on it is stock. And as you can see, they're both the same when it comes to uh every dimension. It's
Hmm.
just that when it comes to the
Ergonomics.
the grit, the seven
Hmm.
the 19X is a little bit longer, but I find
Right.
it very comfortable on the range. Um, it's a beast. I tell you, it's got 17 plus 2 mag extensions it comes with, or it has the flat flushed 17 round mags. I mean, and the color itself is, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Can
Like,
you put a stick? Can you put a 30 stick in it?
you could put anything in here actually you want. Pause. Like you really can. I mean, I don't have a 30 stick, but I have ETS mags that I use for the range
Hmm.
when I want to be cute. Um, Let me see. Like this one right here. This is from ETS. I don't know if you can see the blue in that.
Yeah, I see. I see it.
Yeah, but this goes with the Glock 19. It doesn't fit into the 17 because of the way the the well was rounded. The
Okay.
19 mags can't fit in that. Um, but I have fun.
The company, the brand is really getting a lot of burn that came out, and I actually liked the gun when I first seen it. It was like maybe 3 years ago. Was that Canic Elite? Now that Canic, I believe, is also you can also put a Glock clip in a Canic.
Mechanics
Okay, there you go.
mechanics are some of the most underrated firearms ever. Pound for pound, and I hate to say this.
You muting up. You muting. Can't hear you.
I'm sorry about that. I had another.
Okay.
I had another phone call. I'm sorry.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, my bad, people.
No,
Sorry.
no, no. You good. You good.
But Canic, it's actually pronounced Yannick. It's a
You're right.
it's a foreign company, and they pound for pound, gun snobs, Glock fanboys. I'm sorry, pound for pound, Mechanic is out of the box better than a Glock
I agree.
because of the price range. You can get you one for about $400. It comes at MOS already. It comes already with better sights. It comes with a better barrel, a better trigger, and it gives you the same capacity that you would have for a Glock for
Yeah.
$200 less than what you pay for a Glock.
But you know what I fell in love with? And I've got three of them is FN. When I
F-
shot that FN,
yeah,
that FN shoots like a toy gun. I absolutely could not believe it. So I had that Glock 19 Gen 5 was the last Glock I bought. I gave my daughter's mother my Glock 43X because obviously I want her to be armed and protected at all time. But man, since FN, man, that's all I bought. FN. Now they assault rifle platform. It's a little expensive, but it's unproven because I followed what's my guy named Iraq 8888, the one that takes those ARs and just shoots them till they burn out. So FN still hasn't proven like it has, like even that MP, the MP Sport, the one that was real popular, probably one of the best AR platform guns out. But now Palmetto State, I don't know if you're into the AR platform, but Palmetto State has really stepped their game up. They used to have some mediocre type of guns that they brought out, but that's completely changed. Even the price range has changed. You used to be able to get a Palmetto State for almost $250, $250. But my weapon of choice is definitely the FN. If it comes to my everyday carry, I carry the Glock 19, but it's definitely the FN. When it comes to the AR platform, I've lately been shooting Palmetto State. I don't own one, but they've really been stepping their game up a little bit more, as well as FN. But FN is a good gun. They shoot like toys, but they just not durable. They don't last long. Not on the AR platform.
yeah. I personally never shot an FN, but I know a lot about them, and I know a couple people that actually have them. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and from what I hear and what I've seen, they definitely do the job. For personally, they're a little too cumbersome for me to carry.
Mm-hmm.
I got a smaller frame, but I got like a dad gut, so my waist
Dad
my
good.
waistline's a little weird. You know what I'm saying? Like
It's all good.
I'm skinny and fat at the same time. It's weird, but so FN is not working. But I mess with FN and real quick. I do mess with the AR-15 platform. I built an AR-15. My father-in-law gave me a lower receiver for Christmas. And
Mm-hmm.
said, "Hey man, I ain't gonna buy you a gun, but hey, he's military man. He's like, hey, start from here, figure it out." And I
Yeah.
built one from scratch. And I ended up selling it or whatever. But I did get into this right here though, real quick before we move on. This is my first uh self defense. This is a Mossberg uh Maverick.
God damn.
This is a Mossberg Maverick 80. This is brand new. It hasn't even been shot yet. This is what people would consider um I guess the Honda Civic of
Mm-hmm.
guns. I mean, because there's not much to it. I mean, people shit on it. They say, you can get better than that. But yeah, I mean, you can. But it goes bang every time, though. You know what I mean? So for $200-$300 at the most, I think I paid like $210 for this, brand new.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you can get you a stable platform for you to have some self defense. But you just aim
You
it.
know what? I had a shotgun, but for some reason, I always thought about home defense, right? Now, I have a Kel-Tec 2000, but I just always thought about home defense. Like they always say shotgun's good for home defense because the science behind it is when they hear you racking, the intruders will leave. That's not always the case in today's society. So
That's
what if you got about 5 or 6 guys raiding your home and you only got about maybe 5 or 6 rounds? Now, I know they are making like Panzer makes an AR platform shotgun, but for me, I have to either have that Kel-Tec or an AR. I don't want to deal with a shotgun at all. You
exactly.
understand what I'm saying? So,
And
but
you're sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh no, I was gonna ask a question. Sister Nichelle says, what do you recommend for a woman who is novice or sparking interest in the culture? By the way, it's Nichelle. I guess she's talking about guns. I'll answer that question first. I always recommend that women carry a Glock 43X. I think that's the perfect gun for a woman. That's just me. I got a buddy who says his wife carries a revolver, but I think the Glock 43X will get the job done. That's just me personally.
Me personally, I would have to actually agree with you, either 43X or I would go with a Glock 19. Like my wife, she carries a Glock 19, same exact thing. Uh, Gen 5 right here. I put
Yeah.
aftermarket Talon grips on it or whatever. But um that I would go. You're right about that, brother.
But she's also ex-military, right? So she can handle it. She can handle that heavy metal.
One of the worst things I would definitely not recommend a revolver, man. It's you
Me
feel
either.
you feel everything with
Yeah.
it's not fun to shoot at all
Yeah.
or carry. It's just not fun.
I would never recommend a revolver. Never, never that.
Yeah,
Never. All right, man. So here we go. Let's get into the meat of it, man.
that's
So, um, I brought you on because obviously, man, I think you're the perfect candidate for this conversation, as amongst other people. Because I'm gonna have other people on here. Well, I do plan on having on my cousin William Francis. Because reason why, because he just does so much work in the community. So I see his faith and belief in his conviction and his actions. So I've been confused about. I've become confused about God, and basically is because the reason why I say that, brother, is when I question belief. I do things that people that say they believe don't do. When it comes to belief in God, it appears that I'm just as blessed as many people that say they're blessed by going, they go to church 7 days a week, know their Bible and scriptures. The way I carry myself amongst people is a whole lot better than people that call themselves Christians and believers. And so I become so unconfused. Many people over time they really have thought that I was an atheist. And at one point, even when I was with the 5% Nation, I always had my thoughts. Right. Once I began to see like, yo, this is this may not be it. You understand what I'm saying? There's something missing here because they couldn't answer certain questions I had either. You understand what I'm saying? So tonight we're going to take this conversation into a lane of where we want to be transparent. We want to be honest. I text my daughter. I said, now listen, if you chime in, there might be some things I might get touchy about, but it's not to belittle anybody. Definitely not to belittle you, brother. Because like I say, tonight I'm your student as well as many other people. But when I ask questions, because in the past I have truly asked people, what does this mean? Can you explain this? People thought I was being just facetious or just thought I was being anal, trying to set them up to get into a debate. And I really wanted to know. Nobody could answer it. So tonight, man, as we get into the thick of things, and which why I think, and what I think is why a lot of people are tuning in tonight. My first question to you is, who is God? What is God? Why is God? What is the purpose of believing in a God? Was Jesus, Yahweh, or Yahshua, and I might have spelled Yahshua wrong, pardon me, real? And what's the purpose of a physical resurrection but not mental?
Gotcha. All right. Well, those are some pretty dirty questions. So let's go one by one. I got answers from. Praise be the Most High. First and foremost, want to give all thanks to the Most High. Ahaya Bahashem Yeshaya Wabarak. We'll get into that what I just said a little bit later on, but just know that I'm talking about the Most High, who people call God. He has a name. His son has a name who we ignorantly call Jesus Christ. His name is not Jesus or none of that stuff. And through the Holy Spirit, that's what. At the end of the day, fruit's supposed to be brought out of this conversation. So, as I'm prefacing this, bear with me. I'm not going to take offense to anybody agreeing or disagreeing with anything that I'm saying. And my point is not to offend you or anybody else watching here. So, again, I purposely didn't so called um, prep for myself to sound scripted because I want people to understand and walk through the process with me as how I would teach anybody else, even though I don't consider myself a teacher, but I understand the basic principles and the questions that's being asked. So I'm gonna walk through it with y'all, and you, my brother, and anybody else who's watching right now. So to tackle the first question, you says, "What is God?" Correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we talking about scriptures right now. So what better way to do that than to actually go to what the scriptures say who the Most High is? So what we're gonna do before I even get into answering your question, it's going to look funny to certain people why I bounce around in the Bible like that, but a lot of people don't understand that that's how you're supposed to read the scriptures. The scriptures say to prove all things with the scriptures, and this is what you call Hebrew 101. Now, I'm not Jewish, okay? I'm not practicing a religion. I'm following the law, statutes, and commandments that our ancestors left for us to follow. And we can get deeper into that as the show progresses or even on another show. But I want to make that clear that when you see my shirt says Israelite by blood, I'm not meaning by force, I'm meaning by heritage and by ancestry, based upon what I'm going to explain and extrapolate using the scriptures for that understanding. So to ask the question, who is God? Let's first understand what God said in order to understand him. So in order to do that, let's go into the book of Isaiah to show you how to understand what the scriptures are saying before I go. So we're in Isaiah, the book of Isaiah, who was a prophet, chapter 28, starting at verse 9. All right. The book of Isaiah, chapter 28, verse 9. Whom shall he teach knowledge? The he is who's the most high. Who's he gonna teach knowledge to? And whom shall he make understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. So that verse is saying it's a rhetorical question. Whom shall he teach knowledge? Who will be able to understand the correct doctrine and edify his people concerning what's being written in the scriptures? He says, those that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast, meaning those that are of a mature state who are no longer clinging to their as an infant would to the milk. Let's get to the meat and the potatoes of that. Okay, verse 10. For precept must be upon precept. A precept is a commandment. So we just clarified that who was going to be able to break down what I'm about to break down right now. A person who was weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast, no longer an amateur in this truth and understanding in the scripture. And also a prerequisite is that for precept must, not maybe, must be upon precept. Precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line. Here a little, there a little. A precept is a command. So what you have to do, since the Bible is written a specific way because it has manifold wisdoms in it, you have to go to one commandment that, let's say, who God is. We're about to tackle that, so follow me. All right. You look at the commandment or the precept that God is explaining to you, and you go to another verse in another part of it that gives you a clearer understanding of what he meant by that commandment that he just gave you. That's why he said precept must be upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little. Then you go to the Christian church, and they barely open this up, and then you just hear a pastor shucking and jiving, just preaching out of his feelings for 45 minutes, close the book, everybody talks in tongues, and nobody learned anything. But he's clearly telling you this is how you understand what I'm about to say to you, but nobody says that. Okay, so let's get into what the question is that you asked. Who is God? Now that we understand precept must be upon precept, I'm going to take you through precepts to get you to understand how I'm about to answer your question. So we're in the book of John in the New Testament, John chapter 4, right? Check this out. John chapter 4. John chapter 4. John chapter 4, verse 24 says, God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. So first, the question is, who is God? It says that God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. But now let's go precept upon precept to understand what that actually means, because that doesn't really mean much to the common viewer or person trying to understand, okay, God's a spirit, but what does a spirit mean in relation to what God is? So let's edify and build upon that, precept upon precept, how you're commanded to read the Bible. So now that we understand God as a spirit, let's go to another part of the Bible that explains what a spirit is. That way you can understand what God is trying to tell you who he is. So now we're in Matthew chapter 12, right? We're going to go to Matthew chapter 12. And this is how your pastors are supposed to be teaching you the Bible, so you understand who you're worshiping. It's kind of important to understand who you're giving a prayer to, and just saying, nothing matters. That doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're in Matthew chapter 12, verse 43, and it says, um, when the unclean spirit is gone out of a man, he walketh through dry places, seeking rest, findeth none. So this is an identifier that is clearly stated that when a spirit leaves a man, it walks and it looks for rest. I submit to you this: how can God be this ambiguous, clear thing that nobody just got whatever he wanted to be, when the scriptures are telling you that a spirit actually has the physical capabilities to walk?
Hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
No.
When okay, well, let's go even deeper into it. When the disciples saw Christ walking on water, do you know what they first thought? What they first said? They said it's a spirit. So they saw something, they saw Christ, who people call Jesus, walking on water, but they still called him a spirit.
So my question is, when it comes to the Bible and scriptures, you actually believe these events took place?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm gonna get to that too. I definitely I know that they took place. Um, and people like to call things like that blind faith or things of that nature, but we're gonna verses that we're suffering, that we're portraying in society right now for not believing that these things took place. So I'm gonna get into that too. But I know I'm leaning a little bit hard into just one question, but I'm building the foundation for something for 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 rightful edification. So bear with me, brother. And if you have any questions in between, anybody else, feel free to cut me off and ask whatever you have to ask. But I'm trying to lay groundwork right now. This the way the Most High. It has to be done like this.
Okay, respect it. You on the show for that reason.
So again, so we just understood that John chapter 4 said God is a spirit, and they that worship him must be in spirit and in truth. We just came to Matthew, like, again, precept upon precept. We just established that a spirit is an actual body. It's not just like people think of ghosts and goblins and things you see on movies, but no, that's just in a dimension that we've been cut off from, that we can't see, but we feel it around us all the time. When your hairs stick up on your shoulders, you feel somebody's in them. Yeah, because somebody is in the room with you. You can't see them right now because you've been cut off, because there's a veil that's been put up due to our disobedience for breaking the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. It's still there, and they will manifest upon the coming of who you call Christ. But let me get. I got one more verse to edify what I'm doing.
Okay.
We can move on. So I want to go to Corinthians really quick. First Corinthians. Okay, let's go to First Corinthians chapter 15 to give a little bit more understanding of what a spirit is when asking who is God, because people think that God is just some just imaginary force somewhere. We're in verse 40, starting at verse 40, and it says, there are also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial, but the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another. So it's stating that there's two different types of flesh. There's a celestial, meaning there's the angelic flesh, that's an actual flesh, and then there's the terrestrial, which you and I have. All right. Verse 41, it says, there is one glory of the sun, and another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars, for one star different from another star in glory. Okay, skipping down, verse 42. So also is the resurrection of the dead, is a soul in corruption, it is raised in incorruption. It's letting you know that the celestial body is predisposed to operating in both realms, but the terrestrial body is of the lesser vessel, which me and you are relegated to right now. So a spirit has a body that's just not relegated to the flesh that you see wrapped around these bones and the skin and bones that you have right now. So God, who people want to call God, has an actual body. He has a celestial body and is able to interact in and out at any given will based upon his own discretion. Daniel 7 and 9 says, I sat upon the thrones and I saw the Ancient of Days. He sat. He's talking about the Most High. He said he saw God sit, and the hair on his head was white like wool. So, how can you see God and see him sitting? He's wearing a garment. You have to have a body to wear a garment and have hair and have arms, right?
Yeah. Did it say anything about the complexion of his skin?
Absolutely. We can go into that too. Let's go into that too.
Revelations chapter 1, verse 15, 14.
There you go.
I learned. I know a little bit. I ain't stupid. I just look like this. We
It's a, so do I need to read it, or do you want
can read it because some people may have never heard that script. May have never heard that scripture.
I got you. Where we at? Revelations what?
I believe it's chapter 1. It's verse 14 and 15. Is it?
Let's see if you're right. Because like I said, I want to be organic with you on this one. Because I haven't had to do a lot of this in a long time. Revelations 1 and where we at? Yes, you are correct, sir. Revelation chapter 1. All right. I'm gonna start at verse 14. His head and his hairs were white like wool and white as snow. Now, when you use the precepts and look at there's matter of fact, I have the Zondervan Bible Dictionary I'm going to go into, but look into the Clarendon Dictionary. The Clarendon Dictionary of wool it literally, and I quote, is closely curled hair of Negroes. Okay,
Mm.
literally. All right, and it says here in Revelations and his verse Revelations 1 verse 14, his head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were like a flame of fire, and his feet unto fine brass, as if they'd been burnt in the furnace. Meaning that if you take a penny and you throw it in the fire, it's already brown. What color does the penny look like when it's burnt?
It's black.
Exactly. Now let's do you one even better. Let's go to Acts the 13th chapter before we get off of this. Check this out. Since now I like how the spirit is moving because you're asking questions organically like this, and this is where I wanted you to lead me into like what you needed to know. So let's go to Acts the 13th chapter real quick and check this out. And this is history for you brothers and sisters who need to ask your pastors why don't they say like nothing that matters. All right. Acts the 13th chapter, verse 1 says, now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers, as Barnabas and Simeon, that was called Niger. What does Niger mean?
I don't know.
It means black.
Really?
N-I-G-R. Yes. Yeah. Niger. That's why it's called Nigeria. It's named after the people that were in that land. This is Paul, the apostle Paul, who the Christian church use for their own benefit, but not cling to what he's actually saying. This is Paul writing to the Romans during their time when they're trying to set up the church. It's called Acts because it's called the Acts of the Apostles. Okay. And it says at that time, now they were in that church was there at Antioch. Antioch was an actual place, it's an actual city during that time.
Mm.
Okay. Certain prophets and teachers. So these are prophets and disciples. Okay. So mind you what their definition was. And now let's look at what they look like. As Barnabas and Simeon, that's their names, that was called Niger because they were black people. They were black people, they were black disciples in that time in Antioch who were carrying on Christ's ministry, who were not a part of the Romans. That's why when a lot of these modern day Christian churches, they run to Galatians chapter 3 and say it doesn't matter neither Jew nor Greek. Well, here's the thing though, Creflo Dollars, Joel Osteen, TD Jakes, is that you have to understand what that means and break that down properly, because when it says there's no difference Jew or Greek, that means that there was black people living in the time of Rome during the time of Maccabees that Paul was trying to reach to wake them up to understand that they were Israelites because they were living under Roman persecution. And you found some of our people in Africa, and that's why we're over here in America, because Africans weren't selling other Africans. They were selling Israelites who fled in 70 AD under Roman persecution in Jerusalem. These are historical facts that can be documented. So when Paul is saying there's no difference, there's a term called a Hellenist. If you look up Hellenist, the term for Hellenist is a Greek speaking Israelite. So there was black people who are Israelites who were in Rome during Christ's time who spoke like Romans and didn't know they were Israelites, because during the time of the Maccabees, which the Roman Catholic Church loved to took these 14 missing books called the Apocrypha that they took out and created Christianity. They took out because it's kind of weird how all of a sudden you have the Old Testament, and then next thing you know, you flip to the book of Matthew, and then Christ is out of nowhere. Where did the timeline go in between there? All of a sudden, you see people wearing Roman togas and all that stuff, but there's prophets in the Old Testament and laws, and then all of a sudden, here's Christ with no explanation in between. Then because they took the history and snatched it out, because they took us on slave ships, brought us over here. It was already written up in here, and that's why they took it out and said it's not biblically inspired.
So, what's your take on Dane Calloway, who says that the slave ships never existed, that we were already in the Americas?
Um, I think that's a foolish statement, honestly, because some of us were in America. The scriptures call it Astaroth, excuse me, means a far off land. Like how you see like the Mayans and the Aztecs, and what you want to call like the Mexicans, South Americans or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
During the time of the split, when the kingdom split due to Solomon in 721 BC, we were broken off. And they ended up over on that side, and we stood over here and didn't realize that we were meeting our brothers over on this side. And we looked a little bit different skin wise over a certain amount of time, because we started mingling with other nations, having children with other nations. So they developed a lighter hue than us. But if you do the research, and I'll get the documents too, if you do the research, there were people that came over way before Christopher Columbus, and they were being greeted by the so-called Native Americans who were speaking Hebrew. Hiya, ya, ya, hiya, ya, ya. They're making fun of that statement, but not understanding that the Indians, so-called Indians, were saying God's name, which is Ahia. That's written of in Exodus chapter 3, verse 13. His name is Ahiah. I am, quote, he says, I am, tell them I am sent you. His name is Ahiah. That means I am in Hebrew. They were
Mm-hmm.
greeting the people that were coming over, bringing us over on ships with God's name, speaking in Hebrew.
Man, that's dope. So, what's the purpose of believing in God?
What is the purpose? Good question. I'll let him tell you that himself.
So you really you rely heavily on the scriptures, and you say that you know the scriptures is real and the events in the Bible actually took place.
Absolutely. And I'm saying this to give a hard stance, because I don't want people to think that I have an ulterior motive or an opinion. Like the Most High does not care about anybody's opinion. And the deeper we get into the scriptures, because some heavier stuff, and then this, people think themselves to be way more important than when they really are. But when you start to understand what your purpose is, the narrative is of the scriptures, and why you were created, and who's doing what and pulling the strings, and the who's dragging the purses in the world you're living in right now,
Mm-hmm.
your perspective is going to start to change. You start
Gotta
saying, okay, that makes a lot more sense than what my pastor's telling me right now.
yeah.
Now,
Got a great question came in from JC. I want to know if God is the Father and Jesus is his son, why do people not logically view Jesus as their brother versus their God? That's a good question.
hold on 1 second. Let me make sure I don't forget the one you just sent me. All right. Okay. So remind me of that question really quick, but excuse me. To answer what you just said was
The purpose. What's the purpose of believing?
purpose. And this is gonna be a harsh reality for some people, but the better you grasp that, the sooner the better off you'll be. We're in Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. End of chapter. Your whole duty is to serve the Most High and keep his commandments. That's the whole duty of man. He didn't say but or anything of that nature. And that's the problem with this world, is that we are so self-entitled, we don't want to relegate what our own personal power we've given ourselves to we're not that important. We were put here, we were literally put here to serve the creator. We weren't put here to worry about feelings and sleep with other men and wonder why this person is that, whatever. That's a byproduct of the sin that we welcome into this world for breaking his command. But he's
What's the purpose? What's the purpose of the creator even creating man? Like you say, we were put here to serve the creator for whatever purpose. But I don't understand, like, what's the purpose behind it all? And the scriptures do say we're shaping an iniquity. So there's laws that we have to obey, that basically that we have to really conjure up against our flesh. So what's the purpose of it all? Why even why did just why?
I hear you. I hear you, and I hear the realness in that question, because sometimes I ask damn, like, why, man? Like, you didn't have to do this. Um, but it 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 all boils down to this: the Most High, like you said, that's the whole duty of man, and it's up to you to get there, to ask him why.
How do
It
I ask him
it
why?
it
Does
even
it
it even
what language does the spirit speak?
it even what is that? What do you mean by that, brother? Sorry.
Well, I've always understood a spirit to be of a spiritual nature and flesh to be of flesh, and they're not one and the same. Early in the program, you said that the spirit has a body.
Hmm.
And so a lot of times when people say, well, I heard the voice of Lord, I've heard the voice of God, and the Lord was talking to me, what language is that spoken in?
Well, I don't necessarily believe that a lot of people actually like hear words from the Most High. A lot of people just are in their feelings and dealing with demons, and don't understand, like, those are somebody's living rent free in your house right now, and you need to probably try to clear that up. And same thing with a lot of these preachers. They think that they're sent from God to preach, and that you shouldn't even be on the pulpit. You weren't feeling that you had. As far as what language, so to speak, it's called ancient Phoenician. That's what our people were speaking. That's what the Indians were speaking, a derivative of. Arabic is is a derivative of the ancient Phoenician Hebrew. Islamic is a derivative of the ancient Phoenician Hebrew.
This
So
is true.
when I say things like, okay, the Hebrew Credo, Deuteronomy 6 and 7, it is Shema Yasharala Ahaya Alahaya Nawa Ahaya Akkad. That means, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. That's ancient Phoenician Hebrew. Okay. But if over time, given the watered down of our culture and of our language, we start speaking things like Yiddish. The Jewish people who are over in the state of Israel now, that's Yiddish. That's not actually like Hebrew. That's their form of it, from what they've done by stealing our identity. That's another thing.
We can get okay. So let's get into this question with JC. She says, I want to know if God is the Father and Jesus is his son, why do people not logically view Jesus as their brother versus their God?
Why do people not logically view? I mean, that's That question right there is kind of like, that's left up to like your own personal perspective. I mean, I can't answer for the next man, like why somebody wouldn't view another person as, logically view Jesus as their brother versus their God. Well, I mean, that's that person's not wanting to do that. You know what I mean? I mean,
Let's take one more question. If God is a jealous God, why is Jesus worship, and why is Jesus and God used interchangeably if they're two different beings? Why does God later say that they are one?
why does God let him say that they're one? Well, that's let me edify that. God never says that him and Jesus are one. And Jesus actually himself said that no man but my Father who is in heaven knows that when I'm going to return. And this is what indoctrination of Christianity in the Roman Catholic Church has destroyed our people with, because they got you to believe Jesus and God are the same person when the Bible literally doesn't corroborate that story at all. It has you believe in a rapture doctrine. That's the word rapture is literally not even in the Bible. That's replacement theology put in here by the Roman Catholic Church during the time of the Council of Nicaea and the Marcion family. During that time of trying to integrate paganism with who actual Hebrew Israelites were during the Roman persecution before we left and fled into Africa. The
So
Bible,
I,
Christ never says Jesus and God are the same thing at all.
so I got a question. So now you just hit me with something. So I don't think I've ever seen the word rapture in the Bible myself. So you say when Christ returns, Christ is on his way back, or Yahshua, excuse me. What is that? Is that not the rapture, or what is it? How does that happen? What is the process with that? What exactly does happen?
Got you. And mind you, I can do a whole other lesson on just the rapture itself. So bear with me. I'm gonna just dart off a couple key points. But the like how you said, the word rapture is definitely not in the Bible. But when people believe, when they say Christ is coming back, they have this idea that God is going to beam everybody up into heaven. This is what the Christian church teaches, that they're going to beam all the people who believe in Jesus are going to beam up into heaven for 7 years while the Antichrist pops up on the scene somewhere, and then they'll float off in heaven somewhere and be raptured up. And hey, say la vie, that's the end all be all. But that's not even in the Bible.
So
That's
what happens? What's going to happen?
what will happen. What will happen, as how the scriptures say, when Christ returns, when he returns, as is stated in the book of Revelations, Satan will be bound for 1,000 years. Those that have committed themselves to doing this work and have been baptized under the name of the Most High, they will reign with Christ for 1,000 years, while Satan is bound. Then, as it's stated in Revelations, he will be loosed for a while to purge amongst us the rebels of our people. Then the kingdom will be, a new heaven and a new earth will be made here after that time. No one floating like your dead relatives, your ancestors. There's nobody in heaven at all right now. They're in what the Bible calls the bosom of Abraham, awaiting judgment. And those of us that are here, it's better that you be here alive during Christ's return. Otherwise, you have to face what the scriptures call the second death, which is written of in the book of Josephus, the discourse concerning hell.
So what's happened to the loved ones who have passed on that have, okay, let's just say there's some things we can question about Christianity.
Hmm.
But what we have to do is honor those who, if a person believes something, whether it's true or not, you have to honor their commitment to it, right?
Right.
So what happens to those who are committed to the Christian faith that did everything according to the Bible, who have transitioned on? What happens to them?
The scriptures make that clear, and they say that those who they will be judged based upon what they knew. So even though, like how I just stated, you don't have family members, quote unquote, in heaven, so to speak, right? they're in, they're in Abraham's bosom waiting to make their transition when the kingdom of heaven does come. But if they were doing their best to live a righteous life, or just doing the right thing, just being a right person. And maybe they didn't know that eating unclean foods was Bible. Maybe they didn't know that Sunday worship was pagan. Maybe they didn't, but they treated people with respect. They created laws within their own mind that they knew that they should abide by.
What makes worshiping on a Sunday paganistic?
It's called Sunday.
Sunday?
Yeah.
Break that down.
Well, sun, we all know what the sun is. It's
Mm-hmm.
sun day because that's the day that the pagans during the time of Babylon worship the sun. That's why it's called that.
Oh.
Monday was moon day. Tuesday was the worship of who you call Venus. All these days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Thanos, that's a derivative of a time god. Theon, I believe his name is. I'll bring my books in with me next time. But all these days are literally named after pagan gods that the Romans worshiped during the time of Babylon that our people fell to. And God never named any day in the. You will never find Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all the way to Saturday in the Bible. Just day one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. He gave numbers. Seven is the number of completion. I have right here, as a matter of fact, I'm glad you asked that question, brother. Here is actually, and this is in scripture too. I'll break this down one time. I had to do this before. This is what an actual Hebrew Bible calendar looks like according to what God wrote in the scriptures. According
So, so
Go ahead. Sorry,
So
go ahead.
with the no, you good. So with the Hebrew calendar, I see the circle with the four with the lines, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I was always taught that was the orb, and the four pieces, the four different areas represents summer, spring. Damn, it's right there on the what's it called? Summer, spring, winter, fall.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I was always taught that was the orb. Just like when you talk about the ages in the Bible, because I see you rely heavily on the scriptures, and that's dope because that means that you're methodical and that you're cultured, right? I've come to understand a lot of things about the ages in the Bible. A lot of things in the Bible were symbolics, was symbolisms, and what's the other word I'm looking for? Allegories, right? So just like when you talk about Taurus and the Pisces, the time of Moses, that was the age of Taurus, because it came down and broke the tablets because the people were worshiping the bull, and then comes on the scene Yahshua, Christ, whatever have it. He will be fisherman of men, which was the age of Pisces. Now they say we was in the age of Aquarius because now it's all about information and knowledge. Can you correct me on that?
Well, I can, but I can't, and I say that to say this because there's no, there's there, everything that when it comes to that what that's being said is just somebody just saying that there's no like put for instance, I can go into the scriptures or into the history of the scriptures and give you like a definitive of this said this that or the other boom boom boom. But let's say we go into the Gita or the Book of the Dead, it's just a bunch of what ifs and maybes with no resolve to why that happened, the origin of it happened, what's the end result of it happening, or none of I'm giving clear, definitive answers as to what's going to happen, why we're
Mm-hmm.
in position, and what's going to be the end result of it. But there's no laws to follow in any books that any of those people that believe in that. There's no what code do we follow? Because a murderer thinks that he's okay, a pedophile thinks that he's right for doing what he did. What laws do you follow, and what basis and foundation do you have to establish a community on when everything? Okay, so God can be a tree now. God can be a piece of paper, a dog. I'm gonna resurrect as an animal now. So then, what spirit gets judged then? If I can just keep on reanimating myself, so is the tree gonna get judged? Is my grandfather? Is the shoe gonna get judged? There's this area of ambiguity because our people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. If you don't Hosea 4:6, if you don't know who you are and understand the code that you're supposed to follow, you'll never everything will sound smart to people who are ignorant.
The code. Now, you caught me with that one because everybody know I always talk about the code. What is the code that we're supposed to be following?
The law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. Period. And that you see how easy it is for me to answer that because
Yes.
I can go into it and I can show you the laws that he said. He said, if you don't obey by this gonna happen to you. This gonna happen to you. This gonna happen to you. But if you do, I'll do this. I'll do this. And look at our people for not following his laws. Look at the world because his people are out of order right now. but everybody reaps from our benefit. There's no way we're not God's people when we can come over here, 2 million people on cargo slave ships like a can of sardines, build a whole entire company, you call America, and still be the lowest on the totem pole. That's a biblical curse, brother.
Get deep into that. I've always heard this thing about the biblical curse, and I'm just simply thinking that we just not logical people to solve the problem.
No.
One of the biggest things that I always say, and I stick to my guns, is that we are prisoners in the total global system of white supremacy.
And check this out. I'm here, and here's this is why I love the scriptures, yo, because once you understand who you are in them, everything starts to make sense. So the slave trade is in the Bible. It was prophesied that we would be in the condition that we're in for being disobedient to his law and commandments. Remember how I told you Ecclesiastes 12:13 said, here's the whole duty of man, fear the most high and keep his commandments. But it also gives you an understanding of, if you do not do these things based upon your foolish actions, our foolish actions as a people, these curses are going to overtake. Listen to the main curse right here. This is Bible 101. We're in Deuteronomy 28, chapter 68, and it says, "And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships." Now, Egypt means bondage. It does not mean that land. Egypt means house of bondage. Okay? So it says that for our disobedience, into bondage again with ships. And so again, and the Lord shall bring thee into bondage again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. So you're going to be brought over into bondage again by ships, and no man will be able as and be sold as bondmen and bondwomen, sold to Mr. Rayner for $200, sold to Mr. Williams for $300, sold, and no man shall buy you. Buy you means redeem. That's old Quaker English that is written in, meaning no man will be able to purchase you out of your condition. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, Huey Newton, you name it. We, no matter how many of our people try to get it, it's a biblical curse that we cannot break until we cleave back unto the covenant that we made before we broke it during the time of Moses. That's why we can't get out of this condition. It's never going to get better.
Wow. So let's get into something I wanted to talk about a little earlier that we talked off air, man.
Mhm.
I want to get into the legacy of the late Hall of Famer Reggie White.
Okay.
And the reason why I found his legacy to be intriguing is because, obviously we know he was a great football player. We always know that he was in his word. He was in the church. Okay. And when he retired, he went to school and, kind of like you, studied and learned Hebrew. Came back to the church, said, "Hey, listen, I've interpreted these scriptures all wrong the whole time." And he was saying how much, learning Hebrew, reading Hebrew, and interpreting Hebrew gave him a clear, precise understanding of the scriptures, and that we have been doing it wrong for eons and generations. Next thing we know, Reggie White is dead. What's your take on that?
See, I wasn't even aware of that until you had brought that to my attention. Uh, but I don't want to speculate, honestly, brother. And I don't want to put false information out there, because then I'd be being a hypocrite. You know what I'm saying? Because I seen it before. I seen it with DMX. Kind of that look a little funny to me. Um, Reggie, Jackie Robinson, that look a little funny to me. Uh, so
Jackie Robinson, the baseball player?
yeah, you didn't know I mean, he passed away though, right?
Of course.
Yeah, but they it's he started speaking out a little bit about certain things, and then he in order to do a couple things like how DMX did, he had to get a couple jabs, and then next thing you know, oh man, he's not around anymore. Same thing with DM. You know what I'm trying to say. But that's a whole other topic of discussion. But like take for instance Amari Stoudemire. Uh,
Yeah.
he knows he's a Hebrew Israelite. He's just learning under Judaism, which is what how I told you earlier, like how they speak Yiddish over there in Israel, the so-called, white looking people who, who call themselves Jewish. First of all, like there's no such thing as Jewish. I can't open up a crayon box and say, let me get a blackish crayon. Ish is a derivative of the original thing. So you're practicing a form of that is actual people. So if I go
Mm-hmm.
to China and say I'm a Buddhist, does that change my genealogy to an Asian person? No. Okay, so you're practicing Judaism, you're practicing something that original people who are actually of the bloodline. That's why I say Israelite by blood. This is my heritage. I'm not, I can't believe myself into a genealogy. That's crazy. That's not possible. Okay, there's actually original people within this earth who actually are from a seed of people who other people are trying to practice and be like. But again, but Amari Stoudemire, he's learning under Judaism, so he has understanding of who our people are, whatnot. But he's got a few things off, just a few things off.
Yeah, I noticed he kind of made that transition, and it was good because I seen it culturally. I seen him, from the way he wears his hair now, to his garb, the
Yeah.
way that he talks. But yeah, I'm gonna get into that because I got a thought about that because I could think of my own daughter when it comes to it. Um, so should having a belief dismiss logic? Why does it appear that non-white believers have an inferior culture of VIPs? Why doesn't belief and self-hate towards each other? So the first part of that question, where I'm getting at in the context of it is that everything is God's. God got me. God got it. God this. Every single problem that we deal with in life, it comes from physical hands that were put together by physical people dealing with a physical system. Why are our people wired to just put it all on God rather than become problem solvers themselves? And when I talk about inferior culture of VIPs, values, interests, principles, right? A lot of our people study religion, but they don't have a good culture. Like, some people don't reach out to their own family members and check on them. Some people are not loving and kind. Some people don't, it's just like when we do business with one another, we don't value each other enough to do things the right way based on what we're supposed to be as far as our religion, our faith, our belief. I just don't see the triggers happen once a person said that they're a believer. Can you speak on that?
Um, Honestly, I think it all boils down to people not understanding who they are according to the Most High. Because I think that would clear up a lot of the questions themselves. If you know what God can, if you know who the God you say he believes in considers you or labels you as, then the question in and of itself would be cleared up. You would understand what your role is, whether you be black or white, because there's a position and a place for each and every individual that the Most High created. So if you're gonna take it and internalize it and then be like, how come other people can't see what I see or do what I do? Well, you have to understand that not everybody's gonna get it. Not everyone's it's not it wasn't meant for everybody, but you can see. But you can see.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's up to you to understand that not everybody can see and build on that and stop worrying about what other people, like I said, like the Most High said, here's the whole duty of man: fear the Most High and keep His commandments. It's not about worrying about what other people think. It's not worried about other people. You have to come to grips with things sooner than later when dealing with these scriptures and understanding what your cause is for, what your purpose is here for, according to the Most High. So I mean, I can answer that question, and I mean, you can anyone can answer that question in their own mind. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Not to be dismissive to the person who asked the question. I'm not saying that's a dumb question. I'm just saying it's all subjective to how I want to feel about it. I don't leave things to my own personal feeling when it comes to stuff like that. So
Yeah, understood. So, what is a true blessing? The reason why I asked that, so many people think a blessing is something that God like personally hand delivered, like a new house, a brand new car. None of these things come from God, right? Why do people consider that the things that they obtain or the opportunities that they have are blessings when actually these triggers are pulled by physical people?
that's a good question. I think that people tend to think that anything that they consider good happening to them must be from God. When really, like, let's just be honest. Sometimes you just did something that you get a response from. That's just how the world. If I go to an ATM machine, put my card in, and ask for $20 to come out of it, $20 is going to come out of it. If you put your effort into something and you work hard at it, sometimes it might work, sometimes it might not. The scripture
Hmm.
that rain falls on the just and unjust, meaning sometimes good stuff happens to bad people. Sometimes bad stuff happens to good people. So you might see an atheist or a rapist or a murderer win the freaking lottery, and you see somebody who never done nothing in his life get a speeding ticket, snap out, and kill everybody.
Indeed.
You,
Indeed. Indeed. Got another question. JC coming back at you again. You just stated that it's better to be alive so they don't face a second death. So which is it?
I don't understand the question. What do you mean?
I think she was talking about something you were saying earlier about though it's best that those be alive so they don't face a second death. And I think that was around the time I asked the question, well, what about the loved ones who have passed on who were faithful to the faith until they dying day?
Got you. Okay. All right. So if you look in the book of Luke, I believe it's chapter 18. I'm trying not to be so long-winded because I know we're getting questions now. So people, do your write down notes and do your little researches. The scriptures say study to show yourself approved. So I'm not gonna
Is that Timothy 2:15, 2 Timothy 2:15?
second. No, it's not in Timothy. It's not in Timothy. It's the book of Luke when when Lazarus makes his transition, and he's in the bosom, what we call the bosom of Abraham, which is where when your spirit leaves the body, you go into what we call habitations. Okay, and if you do your research, um, it's called the Discourse Concerning Hades, or what people will call it hell. Called hell. Okay, and it gives you a breakdown of what actually takes place when a spirit leaves the body. It's a 7-day trip. Like if you see
Hmm.
somebody goes to a journey, ask somebody who's been in a coma. They think that it's been like yesterday, but they literally it's been like a 10-year coma is like an hour when your spirit leaves the body. It's not the same thing. There's no time. These mortal shells are what relegate us to time. Time was created for judgment, for a whole. But anyways, when the spirit leaves the body, it goes into habitations, either on one side or the other, in the bosom of Abraham. Okay, and in the scriptures, it tells you that Lazarus asked, since he got put there, hey, I have brothers that are up living still. Can you tell them this place exists before they get here? And the angel said, hey man, like, no, they have the prophets here telling you that. So again, when the spirit leaves the body, they stay there and await their judgment. Now when Christ returns, it says the dead in Christ shall rise first. All those spirits that your loved ones and your family have passed, they will be resurrected for their judgment. Whether, how you just said, how what if somebody never heard this or never that, they will be judged based upon what they know. All of them will be judged first, and then that's when in the book of Revelations they will reign for Christ for 1,000 years, and then after that, the rebels will be purged out, the 2/3. All right. And then after that purging process takes place, then the kingdom of heaven comes down here. And then that's end all be all.
Hmm. That
That's
was one of the because yeah, basically that was one of the questions I had, man. What's beyond death? Is there a heaven and a hell? So are you saying that there is no heaven and hell?
no, I'm saying that there is, but our perception of it has been taught wrong by the Roman Catholic pagan Christian church. Take this for instance, the book of Isaiah. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go to Isaiah chapter 5. Check this out. Isaiah chapter 5, verse 14 says, therefore, hell hath enlarged herself and opened her mouth without measure, and their glory and their multitude and their pomp, and he that rejoiceth shall descend into it. Hell, again, like how I keep on referring to the book of Josephus, the discourse concerning hell or Hades, is an actual physical place. I present to you this, brothers and sisters. What is a volcano? The scriptures are are constantly referring to a lake of fire. What comes out of of a volcano? It looks like a lake.
Lava.
That's a lake of fire, right? So we're dismissing the fact that we're looking at exhaust pipes of earth from an underground dwelling that's spewing up from hell, enlarging itself, like the scriptures just said, trying to ask ourselves, what does hell exist?
So a spirit will feel the force of fire.
It what we how we went over how scripts what we went over, excuse me, Salakia. That means forgive me in Hebrew, bad habit of speaking that. Um when it says hell has enlarged itself, it's meaning more and more people are going into it. So he's the Most High is giving you a point of reference. Do you see how many earthquakes that we have based upon volcanic eruptions, things of that nature? More and more spirits are going down into this underground dwelling that people don't think exists. That's called hell. That the Bible is clearly telling you exists, and aren't realizing that they're looking at it being engulfed with lakes of fire spewing out of volcanoes coming from that underground habitation.
Now you do realize what you just said is going to be a stretch for a lot of people.
I understand that.
I've heard Creflo Dollar, man. I've seen this clip where Creflo Dollar played this audio in his church to what it appeared to be like. He said it was screaming souls in hell. How did you even get the audio? How do you get audio of something like that?
I'm going to tell you this straight up. Creflo Dollar is sent from the pits of hell himself.
Yeah, he's a trip.
I'm not saying I'm hating on anybody. I'm saying that, and people, I talk this way because that's the fervent tenacity that the word needs to be preached with. We don't have any other people that actually going to tell you what it is, but like the back home down Pentecostal, the old, the people weren't afraid to teach. Hey man, you do that, you going to hell, man. You do this, everybody wants things catered to them, and everyone's in this mode. Oh man, just be nice in God, and hey man, the scriptures is telling you right here, even in the book of Nehemiah. Hey man, he was telling people, if you come here and try to sell on the Sabbath day, I'm gonna lay hands on you. Who talks like that? Literally says, I'm gonna lay hands on you. That sounds familiar to me. I swear my cousin talks like that. I swear I talk like that. People aren't putting two and two together though. They're not taking this book literally as they should be, and understanding that this is our ancestors' points of reference they left us on what to do and what not to do based upon them falling circumstance to it. So for people to say like, hey man, like, a Christian shouldn't talk like that. Or I'm not a Christian. I'm an Israelite.
It's I can't no, I can't hold you, and I gotta keep it a buck. I can't take the Bible literally.
I
I
understand.
question a lot of things about it. And I'm just being honest. I'm not being confrontational or anything or opposition because, obviously, your word. I don't have nothing to really fire back at. And if I did, it's that's unrighteous to do anyway. But I'm struggling. I struggle a lot with the Bible. You know what I mean? I struggle a lot with the writers of the Bible. Like I've met and know nearly fully exists when I read his work. Francis Cresswell saying, as they always say, we never met the writers of the Bible. It's just like this, brother. Not to say that you don't know your word. You obviously know your word. You're going scripture to scripture without literally picking up the Bible, and that's impressive. And that's why I have you on the show, because I know you're dedicated about what you study, right? But it's just like this. I always make this analogy. So it's 2022. Say me and you, we good buddies, and we on the job. And I say, hey man, the frog is jumping down the hill. Now you being my best friend, when I say that, I'm hungry. Like, yo, let's go get something to eat. All right. So say I write that on a piece of paper, put it on the ground. 3431. The year 3431 comes around, and somebody retrieves that piece of paper and say, hey, in 2022, somebody named Jihad Youssef said the frog was jumping down the hill. He's going to interpret in his mind, having never met me, having never had a conversation, that he's going to think I was literally talking about a frog jumping down the hill when all I was simply saying was I was hungry. So how can you be so sure when it comes to the scriptures? And I know there's been a lot that hasn't been told to us. I just talked to some, I don't know who it was I was today. Oh, somebody made a unique point about astronauts when they make these voyages to the moon and these planets, and they don't make it back because they seen some things that they're swore to keep to themselves, but they're destroyed before they even make it back to the earth, right? But how can we just lean on the scriptures to say these scriptures are just right and exact, never been tainted, never been altered? these writers, because you said earlier, you were saying something about you made a logic about name and terminology. But when you look at the New Testament, they have English names and supposed to come from Eastern descent regions.
Mhm.
So what makes you so sure? Is it conviction, like you said, blind faith? What makes you so sure the scriptures are all the way right and exact? Now, before you answer that question, let me say this: the Bible has survived a lot of scrutiny. There's a lot of truths in the Bible. We can't deny that, right? But how can you just be so sure that the scriptures are literally what they are? Or could it be just an esoteric message? Could it simply just be an allegory, meaning to make a point, but not ever really happen to being real?
I hear you, and that's a good question. That's a valid question, and I definitely have an answer for that. And it's as simple as this: because at the end of the day, we as a people are still living the curses that were prophesied, that were written in it. And I can even I could places where the modern day Christian church actually was being translated from the Septuagint, because this Bible, the KJV, is the closest thing to what I actually translate. So King James was an actual black man who actually sat on three thrones at one time: France, Ireland, and England. Okay, and it was upon him to he didn't write the Bible. I'm going somewhere with it. He didn't rewrite the Bible. He was tasked with the Spirit to make sure that our scriptures were intact as possible, because he knew he was under Roman persecution during our time of Roman persecution when we fled into Africa. That's why we have the KJV. So I say that to say this. With that being said, we literally, if you ask anyone who actually knows their Bible, whether it be Hebrew or not, they go into Deuteronomy 28, like I just went to. If you read Deuteronomy chapter 28 all the way through from 1 to 15, it talks about if we were to abide by his law, statutes, commandments, what we would receive. And then from 15 down to 68, from what I told you about the curses that will befall us, no other nation of people, no matter who it is, has has been migrated to the extent we have. They suffer under all these sicknesses, these plagues. We can't get. We are our own worst enemy. We're the salt of the earth, but we can't seem to get ahead. We spend money before we get it. All these things are written up, and we're the only people at the end of the day that are actually living these things out. While another so-called group of people who call themselves something ish, who are they base their whole existence on being God's people, and they receive monies from it, diplomatic immunity, dual citizenship, all these things based upon believing in us, believing in something that we're still trying to question if it's real or not. Your bank owners, Mark Zuckerberg, the owners of Facebook, this or YouTube, and these are people who are of the ish community who have the belief that we're still questioning about. You
Really?
know what I'm saying? But
Really?
we're the only ones that are actually living the curses that are written up in it for our disobedience. You see what I'm trying to say?
So
But that,
I'm being held accountable for what my ancestors did, so it's affected me as well too.
that's what I'm trying not to. I'm trying to say things without saying it, because offend people, and two, I don't want to. I know how YouTube does with disrespecting platforms and all of a sudden things that. So I'm trying to say things without saying them at the same time.
Yeah. So basically, where in the scriptures is there a time period? Will there come a time where we come up out of this bondage? And if this time period does exist or is supposed to, according to the scriptures, what is it that we're supposed to do to solve this problem to come up out of this mess?
Ecclesiastes 12 and 13. Here's the whole duty of man: fear the most God, fear the most high, and keep his commandments. It tells you in the New Testament that those that endure to the end, those shall be saved. How do you endure to the end? By keeping the most high's law, statutes, and commandments. That's the whole duty of man. It's so simple that it's hard, but our people don't know who we are, and that's why we're struggling with this right now. We have to relinquish what this world has given us and predisposed us to, and understand we didn't just come over here on on ships just randomly because all of a sudden white people wanted to pick us up somewhere, bring us over here to make another nation. People didn't. We're not here just because People were bored and didn't like the way our skin color looked. We were disobedient to the Most High who created. God looks like you and me.
Isn't that the same story of the children of Israel when they was only supposed to be in the wilderness 11 days and spend 40 years there?
For our disobedience, exactly. The Most High purged them and allowed them, because if you look at the map, Israel is literally the connecting point to Africa. It's literally right there, and it's only like about a 3 month journey if you were to walk on foot during that time. It took 40 years because he purposely, the scriptures, allowed those people to die off who were still rebels being brought out of Egypt, and the only two that were left were Caleb and Joshua out of that old generation, because all
That's
the rest,
crazy.
because of our disobedience. And the same thing is happening right now. We're going through a purging process right now. And he said in the last days, he's going to pour out his spirit, and those who are called by his name will be able to understand. And the point that we're at right now is good. Because even if you don't, even if the viewers, you, whoever the case may be, don't believe nothing I say, it's not my job to make anyone believe. I just give the alley oop. If you want to dunk, that's up to you. If you
Hmm.
finger roll it, that's good. If you want to just airball it, hey, but it's not my responsibility to watch. I'm not a Roman Catholic Christian. I'm a Hebrew Israelite.
Once a person, okay, so what's the benefit that once a person know who they are and know that they're a Hebrew Israelite, what happens then? And I know you've been saying over and over time again, reiterating the value of keeping the Most High's laws
Mm-hmm.
and being a service to the Most High, right?
Yep.
What happens once we know this?
Well, here's the thing. In the scriptures will tell you, it says, for what advantage is it to know that you're a Jew? It says every much way, because to them was given the principles and oracles of the Most High, meaning that I didn't have to go to a seminary school to say what I'm saying right now. This book is living word that was written by my people, my ancestors. So I'm already spiritually attached to it. So there's certain things you can't teach. You can't put lightning in a bottle. So once you get
Hmm.
all that the Most High has given you and understand what's going on the hell around you, then the light clicks on, like, okay, now I see what the hell this meant. Now I get this or whatever. And it says what advantage is it? Because it was given the principles and oracles of the Most High, meaning that you won't get what the oracles, to orate, to speak, to understand, to talk. You won't get this every Sunday at a church, because your Gentile pastor wasn't taught to teach to who the Bible was written for.
Yeah, yeah. Man, I still struggle with it a little bit, brother. Um, Still some things I'm confused about. Not saying that you didn't explain yourself precisely and in a good manner, but I just always have these questions. You know what I mean? And um, some of the things that you present, I can't. I just don't understand the why. I do know the why according to the scriptures that you was explaining about as far as the curse. But beyond just that, it's just a lot of stuff that just questions my mind. Um, that with this thing called belief and the worshiping of a God, the concept of God, because I just even sometimes just think, what's the purpose of it all, if
Mhm.
anything else? And why would I just be created to serve an entity, that I'll pretty much won't have much of I can't put a location on this being till after I transition. And I just never understood why. I never understood the why. I understand about being a service of man, but it's kind of crazy. It's like that one kid that your mama told you is four siblings in the kitchen, and mama said, "Who gonna watch the kitchen? Who gonna watch the dishes? I'm gonna be the one to turn around, and leave the room, run out the room for anybody else can." Right? I don't understand why you asking me and it's four of us standing here to watch the dishes. Make that make sense? I'm saying all that to say is I am a creation of the Most High. Let's go with this concept. But there are penalties if I act according or against the scriptures and the laws. But the way that I'm made, the way that I'm created is that I'm prone to sin. I'm prone to lust. I'm prone to anger, prone to kill. You understand what I'm saying? Prone to be uncordial and kind, just not a good person
Mhm.
because my flesh is weak. Why was the purpose of this? What's the purpose of man's creation if we're shaping an iniquity, but we got this penalized thing like, hey, you don't obey these laws, this, that, and the third, this is where you go. I never understood that.
I got you, and I totally hear you. And like how you said, I was actually gonna say like we were literally shaped in iniquity due to our forefathers' sin and during the fall of Adam and our foremother Eve, and like we were already predisposed to this. And the best answer I could give without being too winded is that we have, with that knowledge, the decision to actually to still do the right thing.
You know what? But even in that, you bring up Adam and Eve because there's a few things that I've kind of learned about that as well. Like earlier when I talked about the orb, the different seasons. Adam, was supposed to be the allegory of an atom, which is matter, ATOM instead of ADAM, right? And Eve is actually like the Eve of man. They always say that the woman was the first God because when she ate of the what was it, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and then later in the scriptures it says they have become like us. Now, this was in the book of Genesis, which we also understand. Well, I've understood that the book of Genesis means genes. You dig what I'm saying? So, with that being said, I'm kind of all over the place, but it's just rocking my mind about a lot of things with the Bible, even being and like I say, I don't know the laws like you know the laws, brother. But every day I get out and serve, man. I serve my fellow man. I'm kind and cordial to people. I do right by people. And I mean, I don't know half the stuff you know about that Bible. So for people like me, let's go back to the concept of the judgment day with the Most High. And, I don't necessarily walk around calling myself a Hebrew. Not to say that what you're saying is not right. What happens to a person like me? If I transition tonight, what happens to me?
See, I don't even have the authority to say what happens to your brother. Like, I would feel totally disrespectful to the Most High and to you if I were to just like, I can't place judgment on you like that. You understand? All I could do, like I said, is like I could give you the information. One man plants the seed, another man waters, and the Most High receives the. If I were to sit here and give you a definitive about, let's say, because me, what I think about you doesn't matter. What is what the Most High think about you, but
Mm.
like let's say like if you hear, like I said, you hear or forbear the information being brought forth, and you search out, it's your job to prove wrong. It's your job supposed to search out your own soul salvation with fear and trembling. So if you come to the conclusion that after everything you've been presented, not just you, just in general, whoever, if you absorb all the information and you come to the absolute resolve that, hey, I don't believe the Bible, stand on that. Because the Most High said, I'd rather you be hot or cold. Just pick one. Just don't be in the middle. He says, if you're lukewarm, I'll spew you out. So you're already up out of there. But if you presented with all this information and you know something is tugging at your spirit, more than likely, if you are trying to do the right thing, if your moral compass, for lack of better words, is pointing north, you're probably going to lean towards what I'm saying at the end of the day, because what if you are wrong? It's better to need it, to have it and need it, than not need it, and to need it and not have it. So, what harm would it be in somebody actually believing something that's giving you structure for your family, for your children, for your economic state, for just being a good person and saying, hey, no, we don't like people killing people, we don't like pedophiles, we don't like homosexuals, because that doesn't even make sense, because every homosexual came from a man and a woman having sex.
Mm.
So, anyways, that you're so now you're against creation. What is wrong with that? Versus just I don't I believe in I don't know if anything exists. Oh, so then if you want to choose to be ignorant and ignore the fact that you obviously were put here for a purpose, you don't want to figure out what it is, then that's on you. But it's not like it's not there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense, man. Well, brother, you know what I'm saying? We coming up on the 2 hour mark, man. We're gonna have to do a part two, man. I've enjoyed it. I've gotten a lot of knowledge, information. I'm sitting here really thinking about a lot of information that you present. And we're gonna have to talk off, camera, man. We're gonna have to get deep into this conversation so I can understand some things, because I know then it could be, sometimes, when you're on air and you have people that's tuning in, sometimes, what I'm saying, we have to include them in the show and acknowledge some questions and things that they got going on. But we're going to definitely have to have this conversation, but we're going to definitely have to do a part two,
Definitely.
because I still have a plethora of questions, and I know you want to get deep in that word. And one thing that's good about that is that you have given me something to go and research it for myself. You've given me some type of measuring stick and a guideline as far as the Bible, King James Version, and the other scriptures that I'm missing to kind of do my own research. But I will say the one thing that you said tonight has really got my mind blown is the volcano. The volcano
Okay.
and about the plate, about the spaces. Yes, yes, yes. That's the first I've ever heard it, which is it's a little. I ain't gonna say it's a reach, but it's the first I've ever heard of it.
And I want to get into this too because that links into like the days of the year, and how you can calculate exactly what the seasons are and all that. It all it's I'm glad you picked up on that more so than anything else, because that the whole rhetoric that I could usually go through or whatever, but it's good that your mind is that keen to pick up on something like that, because that's how you build and start to rationalize. Like, hold on, what the hell? Like, wait a minute, it,
Yeah.
it actually is literal. You know what I'm saying? Because I know, like you said, that the whole allegory and things of nature, I could clear all that up. Genesis actually just means beginning. Doesn't mean I know where all that kind of stuff comes from. So I've dealt with the 5%ers. I've dealt with God body. I understand where all that stuff comes from and stems from. So not to condescend anybody, I get all that. But at any given time, brother, you have my number, you have my information. Let's build. I appreciate this platform, and I just wanted to say one thing before we go.
Come on with it.
One thing. This is right here in the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. And this is no horses in the race, no dogs in the fight. This is a definition of ham, because they like to the Ish people, they like to relegate us to the Hamites, because Noah had three sons, Ham, Shem, Japheth, and they like to relegate us as Hamites. When I say they, I mean in the Christian church, and the Olsteins, the even the T Jakes, and those were being used by the powers that be to make our town. But here's biblical reference and historical reference as to who you actually are, brothers and sisters. It says Ham, okay? Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. So, Negroes, who are called Negroes here, who are you if Zondervan is telling you that you're not African?
I'm black, not colored. I got that from Richard Pryor.
We're gonna have some fun, brother.
I couldn't help but to say that, man. I'm so damn ignorant.
You know? I I needed that.
It's all good, man. But you know what? You just, man, how dare you drop that something that heavy at the end of the show, yo? Like now, you got me thinking, man. That's the beautiful thing, man. Like having people like you on the platform, you really sparked the thought. And I told you, man. When people come on the show, it's your platform to shine. You're gonna do most of the talking. I'm a student, like everybody else is a student. You actually have some very intelligent people in the comment sections, and they were, they're gonna challenge you with questions. You know what I mean? I happen to know JC. You know what I'm saying? That's actually a family member of mine, and she's very intelligent, sharp, just intelligent, a fountain of knowledge. But I can't get her on camera. So, but yeah, man, we're gonna have to do this again, man. We're gonna definitely have to do a part 2. I believe my brother that was Bobby, Lord Bobby Infinite, you know what I'm saying? One of my brothers from the nation, but he's a righteous, but how I said earlier before we went on air about in each lane of study, you got the angry ones and you got the ones who are peaceful and civilized, right? So typically, a lot of 5% has always been known to be angry and brass. He's not like that. He's a good brother, always just peaceful, calm, humble. And I actually been on his platform. He's been on the platform before. Bobby Lord Stevenson. If you go down the timeline, you'll see him on there. But man, listen, man, you have been phenomenal. You've been a driving force of knowledge tonight. You've definitely sparked a lot of thought in my mind. I know a couple of people may be watching the show. They may reach out to me, might ask questions. So it is what it is, man. Eventually, I'm gonna get this platform to where I can take phone calls. So when people start calling in, that's when it, as they say, ish gets real.
That's, I apologize in the comment section I wasn't able to get to ahead of time. I just writing it right here. I'm on my phone, so I can't really see anything. Shout outs to all y'all too, and
Oh
I
no.
forward to it, man. I'm open. Like I said, I'm still a student myself, man. It's a growing thing, and I thank the Most High for the opportunity. I thank y'all. I thank you, brother, for the opportunity, and just having the conversation, man. So all praises, man. I'm thankful, brother. I'm thankful, brother.
Always, man. And like I always say, man, you always welcome on this platform, man. We gotta have you back. But you know what, man? I'm gonna do. I know a couple other good brothers. I'm not familiar. I'm not sure, but there's a good brother. Like I told you, man. Are you familiar with Nasi Ashuvu here in Atlanta?
I'm not. No.
Okay, man. Well, man, guess what, man? I'm gonna have to get both of you brothers on the show, man, because you two are just phenomenal, man. Good brothers, just because when I had a conversation with him, it was just like the same as having a conversation with you now. I learned a lot from that brother. He was very calm. He was demeanor. He asked a lot of questions, man, and I was honored, man, with a great mind like him, just like yours, just to be asked certain questions. More he wanted to know about the 5% Nation, but we were able to have a great conversation, although we were coming down two different lanes of knowledge as far as the way we walk in life. And that's the way it should always be, man.
Definitely.
Man, thank you for coming on the show, man. Hey, man, this is my good brother T Challa, man. Give him a follow on Instagram, Facebook, man. If you were interested in a lot of stuff that he said tonight, this brother brought it. He's gonna always continue to bring it, and I consider him a good brother of mine. And like I say, man, we brothers for life, and you family, brother. You know what I'm saying? I look forward to doing this again, man. So as I always say, man, tonight was a very good show. I've always told people how I felt about God, my position on God and concept. The brother gave a lot of great information, gave me a lot to think about tonight. And hopefully he gave you a lot to think about as well. Maybe a spark of conversation. But I promise, as I have with guests in the past who have impacted this show, people have really been engaged. I promise to bring this brother back on again. And as I always say, man, don't ever tell me what you know if you can't show me the reality. From city to city, state to state, worldwide, you are listening to In the Zone Atlanta. This is the network. Thanks again for dropping in on the Jihad Live Experience. Peace.
Shalom.
Yeah.